The good we see in the world is defined by the evil we perceive. Without evil, there is no good. Without the dark, there is no light. Without a clearly defined anti-hero, there is no hero. And this explains why we are so quick to demonize those who think differently or oppose us. Tribalism is in the very fabric of our being. Our current culture desperately searches for the anti-hero because we need to label bad in order to have a sense of good. If we can find a villain, that allows us to feel morally superior. If there isn't a villain, we will create one. And now society is more divided than it ever has been. Whatever side you associate with, the other side must be demonized. The more we perceive them as evil, the more polarized we become. But the question is, how can you be sure if you're on the side of good? Even the most wicked characters in history thought they were on the side of good. As Alan Watts says, diabolical things are done in the name of righteousness, and be assured that everybody of whatever nationality or political frame of mind or religion always goes to war with the sense of complete rightness. The other side is the devil. Certainly everyone cannot be on the good side, or else evil would not exist. The truth of the matter is, good and evil only exist in the eye of the beholder. There is no line between good and evil. There is no clearly marked boundary you can point to. Jordan Peterson says, you can't divide the world neatly into perpetrators and victims, and then assume that you're only in the victim class, and then assume that gives you access to certain forms of redress. It gets dangerous very rapidly if you do that sort of thing. Today, Adolf Hitler is widely considered the most evil man to have ever lived, but in the early 1930s, Hitler was heralded as a hero, not just in Germany, but around much of Europe. He had turned the German economy around and was building an efficient, abundant, innovative society. In 1936, Hitler and the Germans hosted the Olympics, which displayed German prosperity for the entire world to see. That same year, he received a 98% approval rating from his people and a 99% approval rating from the Austrians, a country that Hitler took over with no force or violence. In 1938, he was Time's Man of the Year. The Nazi regime was supported and praised by intellectuals, economists, Nobel Prize winners, and the media. How did this prosperity lead to concentration camps and gas chambers? It didn't happen overnight. It took a step-by-step process of the Nazis thinking they were doing good, thinking they were on the side of nobility and virtue, thinking that every action they took was for the absolute betterment of humanity. Hitler's motto was, the common good before the individual good, and eventually his ideology to attain the common good would lead to a Holocaust. This same process can be mapped onto every genocide in history, from Pol Pot in Cambodia to Mao in China to Stalin in the Soviet Union. These men all thought they were fixing civilization. They all had a vision of creating a utopia, but in order to get to that utopia, mass suffering and mass murder became necessary. A world where you and only people who think like you are good is also a world where you are surrounded by enemies bent on your destruction, who must be fought, writes Jordan Peterson. It is much more psychologically appropriate to assume that you are the enemy, that it is your weakness and insufficiencies that are damaging the world, than to assume saint-like goodness on the part of you and your party, and to pursue an enemy you are inclined to see everywhere. It's easy to look at the external world and point a finger, but it's highly difficult to look within ourselves and see our own flaws. Jesus said, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the same measure you used, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye?" How can you say to your brother, "Let me take the speck out of your eye," when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. The speck you see in your enemy's eye is nothing more than the reflection of the plank in your own. Before you go fixing the world, examine your own contradictions. We often become what we oppose. Beware of making it your mission to eradicate evil, as you are likely to turn into the very thing you are fighting against, writes Eckhart Tolle. Whatever you fight, you strengthen. Whatever you resist, persists. This is the meaning behind the ancient proverb, "The road to hell is paved with good intentions." Or, as Alan Watts puts it, "The do-gooders of the world are troublemakers." Those who think they know what's best for others are often the ones who inflict the most harm. Having the ability to observe your own flaws will dull the desire to bend the world to your will. Having awareness of your own capacity for evil will dampen the need to point out evil in the world. Aleksandr Solzhenitsyn, author of the Gulag Archipelago, lived through Stalin's brutal communist rule, which took the life of about 30 to 50 million people. During his time in a Soviet work camp, he became acutely interested in the nature of evil. In his reflections on evil in the Gulag Archipelago, he emphasized that all people are capable of evil, and that often evil is committed because those involved ignorantly believe themselves to be wholly and unmistakably on the side of good. Solzhenitsyn wrote, "Gradually it was disclosed to me that the line separating good and evil passes not through states, nor between classes, nor between political parties either, but right through every human heart, and through all human hearts. This line shifts. Inside us it oscillates with the years, and even within hearts overwhelmed by evil, one small bridgehead of good is retained. And even in the best of all hearts, there remains an unuprooted small corner of evil. It is impossible to expel evil from the world in its entirety, but it is possible to constrict it within each person. There is no line in the external world between good and evil, because we all have the capacity for good and evil within ourselves. In order to rid the world of evil, we must detach ourselves from ego and recognize our own inner demons. In order to understand how good you can be, you must have an understanding of your shadow side. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Knowing your own darkness is the best method of dealing with the darkness of other people, says Carl Jung. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. The realization from this is that good and evil are nothing more than mental constructs. Recognition of the reality of evil necessarily relativizes the good and the evil likewise, converting both into halves of a paradoxical whole. When we demonize something in the external world, we reveal a void in our own psyche. When we try to dehumanize another or villainize something, we only reveal our own ignorance. When we promote shame, blame, and punishment, we reveal just how little we know about our own inner demons and our nature. The ones who are able to look within themselves and separate their true essence from their ego will stand as a beacon of hope for others. The ones who can emancipate themselves from ideology, tribalism, and the fixation with external enemies and look within their own heart with humility and honesty will emerge with a heightened awareness. This is the beginning of freedom.